Who do we have? We've got Greg over on this side. I'm just working out which way my hand is facing. Hi, Greg. We've got Charlotte, we've got Rachel, we've got James, the wonderful team who pulled this series together and have preached. First of all, guys, can I just say a huge thank you to you for what you've given of yourselves and of your time. We know this is a really personal journey doing this kind of stuff and looking at this. It's been quite a year and it's been quite a series, quite a journey that we've been on. I guess the question really is, what are the kind of major themes that you have been aware of that have resonated with you as the series gone on? And I think we've nominated Greg to kick us off. Greg.
Thanks, Joe. I inevitably, I think a series like this and the season at which we're in have kind of overlapped quite a lot, and I don't think that's been a bad thing actually, because I think it's been emotional, but it's kind of like drawn out from us, I think, and our own personal experiences, things that God really wants to work at. I remember, I think it was Charlotte actually in her talk when she was introducing us to the concept of the wall. She had a couple of stories about how both in the past and in the near past, about how she felt out of control. Or control had been ripped from her, and I kind of, that really resonated with me. I'm somebody who likes to be in control, likes to have everything sorted, and of course we're in a season where we're very much out of control, and so one key theme from that talk, but also just in my own relationship with God, has been really about surrender and how important that is to both my emotional health, but also my spiritual health as well. So that's been a real challenge that's definitely come out through doing this. And I think it's not easy, but I think what's really interesting is that the surrendering aspect is so easy to say, but to do it is really difficult. So I don't know what other people have found, kind of like their day to day and everything, but different aspects of surrendering and being okay with that emotionally and being mature about that spiritually is really tough, really tough.
I think I'd add to that it takes somebody and something like the series we've been looking at to start the ball rolling with that vulnerability of saying, I'm out of control, I don't know what the heck's going on, but there are some things that I know are truth and I know are solid, and actually it takes time to sift through the vulnerability, the fear, the being out of control, to actually get to a place where together we can talk about the things we found difficult and point each other back to the solid truths that we know are real beyond whatever we're going through, COVID or other things. I've definitely noticed once you start talking vulnerably about the times you felt out of control and the times you felt far from God, it gives permission for others and others around to feel like that's okay to do too. And I've definitely found the themes in my conversations with people while the series has been going on, there's a lot of people in the church I've known a long time, and I know the various high points and the low points in their stories, but it's not until recently that people have really wanted to talk about how it is now, and not just the hi, how are yous, but I just can't read my Bible right now, and I really don't feel like I'm connecting. Church is hard online. We were back in person and now we're not again. There's just these like various barriers that people have found, and there's no answer. I don't feel there's a perfect answer for everybody, like a one size fits all how to cope when you're struggling. But there is this sense of we're in this together, and if we start being vulnerable in front of each other to say, no, I don't know, I'm out of control and I don't like it, other people can join in with that.
And as you were talking, Charlotte, I've been thinking of a sort of an illustration almost sort of came to mind as you were talking about it, and the sense that on this journey to loving well, that we want to have a softer heart to be able to love better. But over the last 10 months, the COVID season, things have transpired against that softness of heart and kind of have been a factor in hardening hearts to a degree, I feel. It's like the layers of the onion, rather than being peeling back to find the soft center, have kind of been adding new layers in some ways. And,
Definitely.
Together as a community, it's recognizing that we've kind of been given these new layers of hardness in a sense, and to help each other recognize that as a starting point, and then help to listen to what those factors are, to then start the process of peeling back the hardness, finding the softness of heart again, in order to be able to love each other more effectively again.
As you peel back the layers of the onion, the tears come. Is that what you're saying, James?
There's always tears. When there's emotion, there's always tears.
But I think we do need to be more honest about. I think that's one of the things that has come back to me again and again throughout this. And I think it was in one of Joe's first talks, one of the first two, I think, and talking about the fact that we need to be honest about where we're at. And we need to, as Charlotte said, we need to move past the high and vine banks, and kind of know where we are in our story, and know no, I am really struggling. I am way more irritable than I was, because none of us have any reserves left. But where do I go from here in that? And what does Scripture say about it? Where am I in the story of Scripture? Both kind of looking, I guess, back at lament or whatever it is, but also saying, as we look forward, where is God in this, and what is God saying to us through his Bible, through his people, and how can I put that into practice? And the thing that again has come back to me again and again is that we've got to be honest with one another and honest with God. And we kind of can't have one properly without the other, because I think you're right, James, we kind of, the more vulnerable we feel, I think automatically the more walls go up, because we're like, oh, okay, this is a bit scary, so I'm going to retreat. But actually we have this invitation that walking, I guess in the footsteps of Jesus, is he was really raw with his emotions and really honest with the people around him. And he didn't hide, when he was struggling, but he brought it to God. And I think that's the powerful thing.
Yeah, this season has caused an emotional distance, and it's trying to shorten that distance again and come back together.
Yeah.
I think that's something, actually, that's a point that I've found that, and I know this is obvious in saying it, but I'll say it anyway, that with every talk that each one of us has done, the best example has been Jesus. I mean, it's just incredible. Like Sabbath, daily prayer, coping with busyness, a dark night of the soul, grieving over loss, all of these things that we're talking about, the best example has been to look at Jesus. And you're absolutely right. He was never, he was somebody totally emotional, not cold, fully engaged, but at the same time incredibly intentional as well. And it's that, I think that's another theme that has kind of like really come out of this, and perhaps that I've been too just.
Oh no, my internet's frozen.
Letting things happen to me and really,
Sorry, I lost you for a moment there. I think only my voice was working, which is going to look hilarious when we're playing this in church, but never mind. Could you just say what you said for the last 20 seconds?
Oh, what, me? Do you want me to play that?
Sorry, Greg.
I was just saying how Jesus. So the best example of all of these things has been Jesus.
Yeah.
And how, because he was an incredibly emotional person on earth. He wasn't cold in any way. Emotions are a big part of the Gospels, but at the same time, he was incredibly intentional as well. And I think that's something I've been aware of. Too often I think, looking at my emotions or dealing with emotions, that's other people do that. I'm just going to let it happen to me. And intentionality in all of this, in our emotional health and our spiritual health and well-being, I think is really, really critical.
Yeah. So let me just have a little go at summarising. Sorry, actually, Rachel, you go for it, Rachel, and then I might have a little go at summarising where we go, and then see.
As I say, it's about honouring our emotions and bringing them to God, but not just letting them run away with us. I think there's such a danger between both being so stoic that we ignore all of our emotions, but equally that we let them run riot and don't do kind of anything with them. And we have to, and I think in Jesus we do see that middle ground that says, this hurts, but I have, there is something I can do about it. Even when I can't change a situation, I can bring it to God.
Yeah, thank you. And so, I mean, we've sort of gone there from the kind of this the starting point almost was, this out of control situation we found ourselves in. And then I think, Greg, you shared that. Charlotte, you sort of took that into how that's then played out, and in that how that's forced that vulnerability and how that's played out actually in our relationships and community in some ways as not exactly a positive in itself, not saying that about the year, but actually one way is it pushed us beyond some of the ordinary into being a little bit more real, and that's great. James, you talked a little bit about some of the language around that, the layers around that have enable us to open that stuff up. And Rachel, I just loved what you said as well about sort of how we're realizing that this kind of, I wrote down the words vocabulary of vulnerability that the Bible, that Scripture gives us this. When we look at it from this angle, suddenly we realize all these themes coming out are there in the Bible. These aren't the things that Christians should be hiding away. This is not the unbiblical emotional stuff. This is the heart of what you see in the Bible. And Greg, you sort of just captured that in Jesus. See just the most perfect, beautiful handling of this, and how we manage our emotions and how we deal with difficult emotions, and also how we live healthy rhythms. And Rachel, you just I think I was about to summarize, and you just put the cherry on top there, Rachel, with just sort of talking about how we have to get that balance. Now, coming back to that word intentional, then I think let's just have a few minutes to talk about. Why don't we talk about what some of our intentions are going forward from here? So I think we can talk the talk, can't we, from behind the podium and say, well, we've got to be intentional about this. But can I just sort of push maybe each of us perhaps to share one thing that or it doesn't have to be one thing, but what are your intentions going forward from here? What do we think might be good ways to proceed?
I feel like it's put me in a place mentally where I feel much more equipped that I can go to Scripture and see something different. Even though I'm reading the same things I've read over and over again, I'm seeing another layer to what's written, and that brings me so much more confidence to bring things to God. And I feel like I've been forced through circumstances of raising a 2-year-old quite recently to, especially in this lockdown, by myself completely on my knees, literally crying, going, right, Lord, this is how I feel. I can't put it into words because I'm busy trying to teach my 2-year-old how to phrase emotion, and I realize I haven't really got it either. And I just say, Lord, who do I need to be now? How do I need to be in this meltdown scenario? And he has again and again just come back with a phrase. So yesterday I was reminded of a phrase from last week, which was just that I have to be a loving observer to my frolicking in frustration 2-year-old. Now, flipping Nora, you start thinking about that phrase and it is just perfect. And I'm like, well, why did I think up until now I could get away with doing this myself? I can't. So now I feel like I have no option going forward but to go, right, Lord. And he is faithful. So yeah, I just have no option but to bring it to God straight away, because I can't function without hearing his word for me for the next 5 minutes, let alone month.
Thank you for your honesty there. It's so helpful, Charlotte.
I kind of to do with that, but I'm just praying and thanking that I haven't got a 2-year-old to deal with. So so it's all about gratitude, I think.
Teach us what you've learned, Greg.
Yeah.
Give us your wisdom, please.
No. Well, actually, what I was going to say was that my intentional thing that I've already researched for next year, and a bit of a secret actually, because I haven't actually told my family this yet. But I'm going to. I've set aside some holiday time, and I'm gonna find a couple of times to go away on a day's retreat, because I found that a big part of me in surrendering is seeking silence and solitude, and real silence and real solitude. So like no phone, no interruption, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually really excited about some places I've found. I've got the holiday saved. I'm gonna book it, gonna do it. I just need to tell my family.
They'll be at home and use an old-fashioned map.
Exactly. Yeah. I might never get there. Maps. I might never get home.
Taking the journey metaphor just a little too far, isn't it? Really. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Greg. So some retreat time. Yeah. Brilliant. Planning it in now. Getting it in the diary.
Yeah, and I can kind of follow on that theme a little bit, I guess. I think, what Joe was saying last week about passive discipleship, not being intentional enough, and the strategic plan of how I'm going to create a rhythm or a routine that I know will help me with my personality and give me the time with God that I know I need to grow in love for God and love for my neighbour. So, yeah, absolutely. Next year, I'm thinking about what rhythm I can put in place that I can be kept accountable to as well. So not just making my own mind up of what I'm going to do and then forgetting about it, but try and put in with a couple of other people who are going to hold me to that and see how you're doing with it and ask me what's going on along the journey. So for me, try and be strategic about that and really think about what I'm going to invest in for my relationship with God next year. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great. So there's some plans with some accountability on that as well. And brilliant. And Rachel, why don't you just sort of bring us home?
I think
no pressure.
I think it's probably twofold. The first is trying to develop a rhythm of Sabbath. And I also have a 2-year-old. He understands the concept of Sabbath probably about as well as I do. But actually knowing that, my work is at weekends, so kind of actually taking that time and saying this time is for God, not just, time that I can watch The Crown on Netflix, which is fun, but actually making that a priority. But also being honest enough in my vulnerability in life as well as work, which is probably the wrong way around. But for most people, but actually, I find it easy to do in work because it's what I do, but actually doing that in life and in the small stuff and being honest and kind of allowing honesty and kind of encouraging honesty about emotions with the people I love as well. I think has to be a part of that. And then, finding ways, hopefully on my Sabbath, to bring those things to God.
Thank you so much. In fact, thank you all four of you guys again just for sharing in this journey this term. I'm so grateful. I'm really grateful for what you shared tonight as well. And let's see how this inspires us going forward. Cheers. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.